Welcome to Politely Pushy. I'm your host, as always, Eric Chummy. Eric Chummy. Politely Pushy. I'm Eric Chummy, and this is Politely Pushy. Welcome to Politely Pushy. I'm your host, as always, Eric Chummy. Today we've got two guests, Curtis Sparrer, the principal of Bospar, and Jennifer Devine, who's working with Bospar to help us create Audit E, which I think is the first ever, what do you call it, brand safety tracking in the AI engine marketplace, right? This has come up. What do they say? Necessity is the mother of all invention. And you two ran into a big necessity situation and created this. So Curtis, I'll start with you. What was the problem that you were trying to solve? And then Jennifer, how did you solve it?
Well, what we discovered was that our client RealSense was about to launch. And yet when you would ask ChatGPT or other engines about it, it would say that the company was dead. It was defunct. And so at a certain point, this is a real serious issue because a lot of executives say that they now depend on ChatGPT and other sort of engines to find out information about who they're going to hire or partner with next. And so we really needed to change how the AI engines saw this. And so Jennifer, that's where you really stepped in to write the record, so to speak.
Yeah. So as Curtis said, we discovered this issue in how RealSense was appearing within responses when individuals were querying for, what how can we get a great, depth of vision camera. Who is RealSense? RealSense used to be a division within Intel, which was discontinued, and it was a misinterpretation of some information that had been published quite some time ago when Intel and RealSense discontinued a specific line of product, but it was interpreted as the entire division had been spun down, and now we were ready to spin out independently. We were up against this issue. So at the time, it took quite a while to hit each of the platforms, put in the queries, understand where the
platforms, meaning like the AI platforms. You're saying hit each of the ChatGPT and Claude and Anthropic, Gemini, Copilot, whatever it is. Yeah,
exactly, all of them across the board, because the issue was present across all of them, some more than others, but we needed to find out and gather what the issues were and how it was appearing across all of the platforms that are now highly used in search. And
why does it take so long, though? It seems like it should only take a couple of minutes to just type in, what do you think about this company, and open up 8 browser tabs and then do that and then wait.
Yeah, but then you're gathering and analyzing and assessing the sources that this information is coming from as well. So there's a level of interpretation and analysis that has to take place in order to formulate a strategy on what the fix is. And in doing that, we realized there's got to be a better way that can expedite the process, helping us get to the solution faster, but also gathering the information into one place so that it can be analyzed more quickly over time as well. So it wasn't just about, we need to find the fix here. It was about, how do we audit continuously to make sure that the fixes that we are recommending are actually working.
It feels like so much of this is very similar to what we would deal with SEO, right? Where people say, hey, let's go look up what Google says about you and let's try to fix it. Is this basically the same thing, or is this somehow fundamentally different?
It's not fundamentally different, but it's more different than basically the same things. So we did there are aspects of it that are quite different. First and foremost, these platforms are formulating their own responses. Whereas in SEO, if you're ranking well, it is your content that is being indexed.
Right. They'll either link to your site or they'll link to a news site about you or a blog about you, but they're not making up stuff. Right.
Exactly. And when you get a highly ranked link within the search engines, it's, the page title shows, the description of that page shows, and you formulate all of that yourself. So the game there is making sure that you're ranking high within the search engines. The game with the AI platforms is making sure that the information is easily accessible, highly credible, and consistent, so that when they access it and formulate their responses, you know that you have a higher likelihood of showing up properly.
So Curtis, how did this work when you went to Real Sentence and say, hey, by the way, AI doesn't think you guys exist. You know, AI has confused the product, one product being discontinued with the whole company has been discontinued. So now it seems like we're spinning out a company that doesn't exist, and it's AI is confused. When you found that out, did you go to them and figure it out? Did they come to you and say, we're having this problem?
It was something that was communicated back and forth with both sides, and they really regarded it as their cross to bear. And we said, no, this is something that we can absolutely fix, and this is how we can do it. And there was almost a palpable feeling of like, oh, well, I hope you can. This would be huge for us, but also a feeling that this was something that they couldn't fix otherwise. And I think if we were to like widen out the aperture and think about what this means, I think this means how important it is for every brand to take a look at its errors and omissions policy and ensure that there are no stray narratives out there that are untrue, that have not been corrected or remediated. Because this just shows how something like a bad story can lead to this kind of result where it could be potentially catastrophic. And I think that's the real challenge. We're now living in these wild AI times, is that AI can still hallucinate, AI can still get things wrong, and yet more and more executives are treating AI like the Oracle of Delphi, and they are admitting that they're going to go to AI first. And if they are convinced enough, they're going to make a purchase or business decision based on the first results AI serves them.
So has this changed fundamentally the business of PR, right? Before it was all about, hey, when people Google you, you want to have good stories about you. You want to have the good links. So it's thought leadership. It's getting top tier placements. It's your own content on your site, all of that stuff. Now it's, and we all know it, I'm sure we're all using AI engines way more and using Google a lot less, right? So are you seeing this change of, well, we don't even know what they're going to say. So the way we're approaching the kinds of stories that we should do, is it much more about quality or quantity? Is it about fixing your own thought leadership, your own content instead of your earned media? How have you had to adjust what you're doing in your day-to-day job in concert with this tool that we're using now to figure out all these mistakes that the AI is making?
Well, the first thing is that this new world order has made it a lot easier for people to understand the importance of PR. Beforehand, CEOs would say, oh, I'm skeptical, PR can really work. But now that they know that earned media placements from journalists who are either super well regarded in a niche space or in a quote unquote top tier publication can influence AI, well, now they're on board. So there is that. The other part, of course, is that there used to be an exercise where we would think, well, should we publish a release or not? And then we'd think, well, who would write it? Who would read it? And now that kind of thinking is rather quaint, because now we know AI is going to read all the releases. And so
that's a good point. We should pause on that, right? People weren't reading those releases, but AI is reading all the releases. So maybe in the past we would have said, oh, don't waste your money and time on a press release. Nobody cares. Just stick it on your site. Maybe now it's like, maybe you should do all these press releases because it's going to feed that engine a little more.
It's going to feed the beast. And that is an important part of our calculation. I think the biggest challenge that Audit E is solving, though, is that you could put something out there, but it takes a lot of work to figure out how each different AI engine is going to regard this information,
and how long it's going to take them to
absolutely
fix it or ignore it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They have different sources. They have different preferences for where they are getting their information during the in-session queries,
In
and
terms
it's
of like
important to know.
somebody like some one algorithm might want your website, another one might look at what media writes about you, another one might look at social media. Is that what you mean by what they're prioritizing? Is that what you're trying to say? Like
Mostly, yes.
different AI engines will use different concepts.
We found in our analysis that heavily weighted to external sources. The internal or owned sources are still very, very important. So your own website is still going to be referenced and accessed. It's the easiest thing to find about you and source information about the organization. However, it wants to then go out and verify or validate in that external content, external to your own website and assets. News releases or press releases are considered an owned asset. So we are beyond that looking for other external sources of verification. So it might be top tier media. It might be a Wikipedia or a Crunchbase profile, and having that consistency. Each of them have a different preference for the type of external source or material that they're looking for. So what we found, for example, and this is supported by other research being completed in the industry, is that, for example, Anthropic or Claude prefers academic, medical, research papers, white papers. There is a flavor for that. ChatGPT for the longest time wanted and was hungry for Wikipedia references and sources. So if you didn't have a Wikipedia page, you might be in trouble in what it might come back with in its response about your organization. However, that's shifted over time. They are now more reliant on similar sources like the top tier media, external profile pages, and looking for consistency across there. So really knowing where it's getting the content from and where you need to be looking and maybe shoring up your presence is, we can pinpoint that a lot more quickly now than what we used to before we had Audit E.
So I'm curious, do you have a sample we can look at? I know it's not for everyone for people listening, they're not going to be able to hear, but if you're watching this recording, is that something you can pull up for us, Jennifer?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm putting you on the spot a little bit.
I will quickly share this. Let's see.
We might have to blur out some sensitive stuff, I guess.
Yeah, that's we can do that in post. But let me just find. Okay, I selected the tab.
And the name, for people who are listening, it's not spelled Audit E like the normal word. Curtis, tell us how it's spelled and why it's spelled that way while Jennifer gets us loaded.
Yeah, it's audit, the word audit that no one wants to have happen to themselves, and the letter E. And we earlier launched Push E.
Okay, so when I go to this screen, are you seeing it okay? I just want to make sure. Sorry to interrupt, Curtis.
Yeah, we see the screen. You see it? Yeah, we see it. Yeah. But
Great,
finish, Curtis. Tell us your audit story.
Yeah. So Audit E is, a brand that really says what it does. This is an electronic audit of your footprint. And we're able to take a look at how you're showing up in all the queries. And that's going to help you as you look for weak spots or look for places that you can improve. I think one of the most interesting meetings that Jennifer and I took, for example, was with a media company, and Jennifer zoomed in on the fact that their about page was really a weakness that a lot of companies don't invest enough in. And Jennifer, you were making all sorts of recommendations about how that about page could be bigger. And I suspect this is true for all sorts of companies that don't think the about page is important, but really are overlooking something that's really vital.
Absolutely. Typically what we see with our clients when we're looking at redoing their sites or optimizing their sites, they're deprioritizing that about page.
Mistakenly. You're saying they're making the mistake of deprioritizing it. Okay.
Yes, especially now. It is a very, very important source of content. One of the first places that the platforms will look to, the AI platforms will look to for information, that baseline information where what date was it founded, who is the leadership, who is on the team. They can quickly then branch out and source social media platforms and links so that they can make the connection with the content and build an understanding of the organization. So if a company or a client has deprioritized that, or they've just put a really quick overview as though nobody really cares, it's not important, what really matters is our services and products, they're really missing out on an opportunity to help these platforms create a deeper understanding and a factual, accurate understanding of the organization itself. So what I'm showing you here is a profile that is created for Bospar within Audit E. And you can see here, you add as a source of truth, you add the overview about the company. You can add competitors.
So we would manually do that. The source of truth is
yes,
because we don't know if the AI is accurate. So we have to set up here's the baseline that I want you to compare to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So in some of the queries, we have a number of queries that we've created here, and we believe are the baseline important ones to have. Now we can customize queries for other clients, but the baseline ones are the ones that we're going to be tracking, and then we would customize for each profile. But we need to know whether what these platforms understand about the organizations is accurate or not. So in some of the queries, we will come back to this as the source of truth. Do you know anything about this organization? Yes or no. We have the ability to calculate that and analyze what it is understanding about the organization. So is there a presence or mention? Is there a general understanding? And then we check for accuracy across the platforms. And if there are inaccuracies, we can look to providing suggestions to the client on how they can improve the accuracy. So that could be that it's sourcing outdated profiles. You heard me mention Crunchbase earlier. It could be that it just doesn't have enough information or connection within the information that it's sourcing to know which is right and which is wrong. If you have an old profile out there that has old team members on it, you might find those old team members, even past CEOs, showing up in the responses that these platforms are formulating. So we can look across all of these platforms at what the responses
I see.
are.
So in one place, you can look at all the different responses right there.
Exactly. And it analyzes them as well. So you'll see the averages that are coming back based on criteria that we've inputted into the platform, and then scoring it. And if the score is coming back below the performance level that we want to see it at, it will provide recommendations and tasks that can be taken. And we'll take those recommendations and go back to our clients with these tasks. They can work them into their own work schedules, or we can take on and support them in completing these tasks as well, much like you were saying.
I see. So there is prescriptions to fix the problem. It's not just, oh, here you go, here's a problem.
Yeah, it's different than just a prescription in that it's not the same for everyone. I guess I would want to clarify that. But
well, depending on what each company's issue is on each particular platform,
exactly.
It will give different advice about try to update this on your site, or try to get this kind of earned media, or try to get this kind of third-party validation. Those types of advice points.
Absolutely. And then you can track over time. So you see the performance over time. You can have a view into whether the work and tasks that you've taken, the actions that you've taken within your strategies, because it can impact your content strategy. It can impact, your tech stack, how your website is set up, the type of content that you have on your site, where you're posting your, social strategies, making sure that these are all aligning. When you take into account those action items into your workflows, you can measure over time whether you're getting the results that you want. And if you're not getting the results that you want, you can then, look a little bit more deeply into what could be going on there. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen because I can't see you, and I want to see your faces. So,
Curtis, go ahead. What were you thinking?
I think the thing is about this is that Audit E is a necessary tool for us as PR practitioners, but we see it also as a necessary tool, if not a lifeline, for other companies out there that may not be able to invest in PR itself, but still wants to know what they can do. Because yes, there's all sorts of PR activities about earned media, but there's all sorts of back-end work companies can do as well, such as an FAQ, or making sure that they have an AI-friendly schema, or making sure that the content is AI ready. And so we're going to be offering Audit E on a subscription basis to companies that are not our clients at the end of the year, so that for those companies that are clients and need regular reports, we'll have that. But for up and coming businesses, all the way big enterprises, we'll be offering subscription models at different sort of configurations, so that people can figure out what's going on underneath the hood in 8 different engines.
How hard do you think it would be for somebody else to come up with something like this? Like, do you have a moat? Do you feel like this is unique IP, or, are we afraid of copycats?
Well, I don't think we're afraid of copycats, because I think this is a big enough problem that everyone should be thinking about it. I will say that we shared this with Rob Enderle, who is a tech analyst quoted by the New York Times, Washington Post, and the Wall Street Journal. And Rob said he was surprised that a PR agency was offering this. He said he felt this level of technology was better suited for an AI company that was venture backed. And so I think that that's the level at which we're offering this, where we want to make sure that our clients are able to see what's out there and determine how they can improve things. Because for a lot of people, this is how search is going to be. And we want to make sure that everyone is equipped and ready to handle the challenge.
What about the inverse kind of question? So one thing is to say, hey, you look up company XYZ, right? I look up Bospar, I look up RealSense, I look at whatever, here's what they said about me. The other problem is the decision-making problem. So let's say I go in and I'm a possible buyer, I'm a customer. Hey, what is the best AI robotics software provider that I should be buying from? And then you want RealSense to show up in that, right? You want AI robotics hardware, in that case, the cameras, but like they didn't type in the company's name. They just typed in a question, but now you want your client to be in that answer. So it's a slightly different kind of problem, different question. Does this help with that? Does this help solve or get those people the AI's recommendation of like, you should consider blah, blah, blah?
Yes, absolutely. So part of one of the important queries in the baseline set that we have in the platform is in comparison to competitors, and with queries related to the products and services of the organization that we're auditing. What is the presence and what is the visibility within recommendations that do not mention the brand name itself? So it's a very important aspect of what is available and provides insight into that. I think that from the user standpoint, or the individual who is querying and researching at that time, we also want to know, as users of these platforms in our day-to-day work lives and personal lives, is there accuracy in what we're experiencing? And Audit E can help with that, because it's not just helping our clients ensure that they're showing up accurately, properly, and visibly in comparison to their competitors, but it's helping individuals have more confidence in the responses that are coming back. Because Curtis had mentioned, there is a propensity for these platforms to hallucinate or make things up, or just sort of peter out before they've completely analyzed and gathered all of the information. So the recommendations might be at a top level, but once things are formulated properly and digested and taken into consideration, that accuracy is going to improve for the users of the platforms as well.
Before we go, are you able to pull up, Jennifer, the screen one more time and show us, let's say in the case of Bospar, a specific example of this is what was correct, like one thing that was correct, one thing that was wrong, and one piece of recommendation advice that that the engine said, hey, do this if you want to fix that incorrect information?
I need to that might take a little bit of time because there's lots of audits here. Let me just
Or
share my
you
screen.
can maybe explain it, or if Curtis remembers, or you can talk about how that, something that you've noticed or something you're actively trying to fix.
Okay.
I don't mean to put people on the spot, but I
Yeah,
think
no, not at all, not at all. It might take a little bit of digging,
Yeah.
but let me see. It's just going to be a matter of pinpointing the exact audit that came back and
while you're looking that up, I'll ask Curtis, as you've talked to other clients about this, are they all saying, oh my gosh, like I need to do this, I need to figure out, because we know AI is botching it for us a little bit?
There is this definite sense of, I need to get ready for this, and I already feel behind the 8 ball. And there's two approaches we're looking at. One is answer engine optimization, AEO, and that is really the Google answers you might see at the top of search, for example. Right. But it's an easier way to think of it as like, what is the capital of New York? Albany. And that's not very narrative. Generative engine optimization, however, is the narrative approach, where we are asking, which PR agencies would you recommend for a pharmacy firm or pharmaceutical company who's looking to introduce a new drug? Or what PR agencies would be helpful in taking a company out of stealth? And that's more narrative, where AI would be preparing that kind of answer. And so we want to tackle both. And companies, of course, will want to do that. But I think the big sort of wins to be had as people work with AI is definitely on the generative engine optimization side, the geo side, because that's what people find the most convincing and the most compelling.
I found an example.
All right, let's pull up. I'm going to pull up your screen and let's see. Yeah. Talk us through this.
Great. All right. Okay. So you're seeing my screen properly here. This is just a quick example. Here is an inaccuracy that we're seeing. Bospar was co-founded by Curtis Sparrer and Gabriel Ayala, whoever that is. I mean, I think that there
must be our research partners.
Yeah,
there you go.
I know her.
So
I know her, but I know she's not a founder. Yeah.
Yeah, not a founder. It is found a connection. It wants to provide an answer, and a fulsome answer, and it's subbed in some information that's not quite correct. So we went in and worked a bit on the website, made sure that it was sourcing the right information. So if you go to a more recent summary, you will see it starts to shift its answer. So now it's Curtis and other key leadership information, other key leaders. Then as we get closer to the most recent reports, it starts to recognize the changes and tweaks that we've done. And let me just see it. I just have to find the one where it mentions Chris Belkey as well. Starts pulling in the right information. So you will see, here we go. Curtis Sparrer co-founded the company. Other key leadership members include Chris Belkey, who is also a co-founder. So we're seeing a shift in accuracy as we pull in the reports, analyze and make tweaks over time. We're getting more accurate. So it's no longer bringing in incorrect individuals. It's recognizing that problem and now sourcing more accurate information.
Where do you see the Audit E tool, let's say a year from now? Do you want more engines? Do you want, quicker report times? What's the goal, let's say the next 12 months?
I think the big goal is the kind of creative PR thinking. We had one person, Rob Enderle, who was looking at it, and he was looking at Audit E's recommendations, and he said, well, why didn't Audit E just tell the company to completely rebrand and change its name? And that was a big ask for an AI about, hey, you need to start over, just change your name. It's all done. Just it doesn't even matter. And whereas I doubt we could get AI to that level of complexity and like rip up the playbook decision making, I do think that's an interesting challenge to bring that level of creative big picture thinking into a diagnostic and remediation tool.
Yeah, and who knows what Pushy would have said, right? So we do have our PR assistant, Pushy, who is likely more primed, being, educated on Bospar's own content strategies and case studies. Pushy may have made that recommendation, but we're also relying on our team's expertise and knowledge to put forward our strategies that we're communicating with our clients. And these are tools that certainly support us. They make us faster, more knowledgeable, and more insightful. And I think that we'll just, as you know, a year from now, hopefully that just continues, that we continue to build on that and offer those advantages to our clients, and then those who want to subscribe to it, making sure that the tool is accessible and available to them as well.
It's compelling to hear what Rob Enderly said. Well, why doesn't the tool just tell them to do XYZ thing and give them a higher level of advice? Because already it's starting to give a smaller level of advice. Why can't it go bigger and bigger? And it makes me think about, what is the future of a PR agency? All of a sudden, do you need teams of people? Or if it's just, hey, I got the Pushy assistant, I got the Audit E, auditing, the assistant will use the auditing to figure out what's going on. And the assistant will just tell you what all the advice is. And Curtis will just have a picture of his face on the website, but there's no one actually doing anything.
A lot of journalists tell me that they are getting an influx of AI written pitches. And there is even a set formula where the AI says, hey, so-and-so, I really loved your story on blank. And it goes to such a degree of brown nosing, if you will, that it becomes kind of obvious. And the people who are writing the stories are hip to that game, and they're already hitting delete. So I think that as long as we are relying on human beings to be the arbiter of truth and write stories, I think there'll be use for human beings to handle the PR as well. And to Rob's exhortation about, why don't you just rip up the playbook and change the name? I love Pushy, but I just can't imagine Pushy saying, nope, game over, you need to change. Yeah. So I think that level of higher level thinking is always going to be needed.
I laugh because there's so many directions that this can go. You can see where the world is headed in the next few years. I mean, we see it even for this podcast. We get so many pitches that are clearly AI written. I loved your episode with Curtis and Jennifer. You should have this guest on your podcast. I get so many of these.
It doesn't fly, right? I mean, and the rule that we're always providing, or the input that we're always providing to our clients, is humans first and foremost. Every article, every piece of content that you're creating, and in every interaction has to consider the humans first, because when humans get those types of emails or get to a site that's overly constructed for SEO or bots, or has like awkward sounding content that's not structured in a way that's easily digestible, they're out. They delete or they close the window, and you've lost them. So this is really going to be providing a huge benefit, but that human touch and that human experience is still the leading aspect of everything we do.
At some point, do you see a world where the articles are being written by AI anyway? So the AI is receiving pitches, but the pitches are being written by AI, and the pitches are being advised by AI-based PR agencies, and the engines are the ones that are reading the articles, and in the end, it's someone using an AI to figure out, well, what decision should I make? What vendor should I buy? And I'm using AI to help me make that decision, but it's just reading articles that were written by AI that were pitched by AI. Like, at some point, doesn't it feel like we're getting to that kind of ecosystem?
It does, but I think the challenge is with that sort of scenario is that you would still need people to buy into it. And if people are going to buy into it and think that's great, then sure. I think the challenge with AI, though, is that there are certain things it does that are tells, for example, the M-dash. And so I think that people are kind of hip to the AI prose and copy. And I don't think it really arrests people in the same way that human generated content will. So I can see where that would happen. I just don't know if it would be very popular.
Yeah. And I think too, the more time, at least the more time I've spent, and I'm sure that it's not a unique experience with these tools, the more aware I am of the weaknesses that require the human intervention, the human eye, to ensure that, again, that that recommendation is the solid recommendation. I don't think that it's a possibility. Exactly. I agree with Curtis. It's a possibility that people could be using these tools in these ways, and the proliferation of AI making decisions and actually making the purchases and what have you. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the human beings that are needing to live with the solutions that are recommended. That if it's not the best solution that's been recommended, or there's a problem within there, people will realize that and correct their ways, I think, quite quickly.
Yeah, fundamentally, it's all of our money at stake, right? Like the people are the ones that have the investments, that have the money, that have the budgets that flow into all of these things.
The money and the experiences.
Yeah.
So, if it's leaving out a plethora of options simply because it hasn't been able to access or consider that information, and you're ending up with systems that don't work together, and communications tools and products in your home that don't actually operate the best that they could be, people will desert the platforms quite quickly if they're not ending up with a quality product in the end.
Yeah. Curtis, Jennifer, I really appreciate the time today. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks so much.
Thank you to my guest, and thanks for listening. Subscribe to get the latest episodes each week, and we'll see you next time.